Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Kendra and Nealey. Kendra is a first-year student in our full-time MBA class of 2027, and she's also a section rep for Section E. I recently connected with Kendra to talk more about her background, her decision to pursue an MBA, what led her to Darden, how her first year is going, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the Experience Darden podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. And now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Kendra Nealey. Kendra, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's great talking with you. How are you doing? How's everything?
I'm good. I mean, it's a little bit of a whirlwind and it's super exciting to be here at Darden. I'm obviously still in the first couple weeks, but time is flying and it's a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, what's the adjustment been like? Obviously, you're back in school now, you're taking classes, you probably have some recruitment stuff going on, not to mention all the social things that come with being in a business school environment. What's it been like?
Um, to be honest, it's really overwhelming, but in the best way. It brings about a lot of energy and good change, I would say. But you go from having a corporate job and a steady lifestyle, you're living in a place maybe that you know really well or have been for quite a while, and then you just kind of pick yourself up and place yourself somewhere new, no income, and then brand new people and a brand new space to explore. So it's a lot at once, but that's what makes it so exciting and rewarding is to take a break from the world, especially in the full-time program, and just kind of really be here and immerse yourself in the world of Darden. So I'm really enjoying it so far, but of course it's a little bit overwhelming at the same time.
I think anybody who's considering an MBA program can understand that and can appreciate that. Um, so tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
Yeah, I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin, which is a Midwestern state for those who may not have heard of the spot. And I was working there as a scientist in research and development at a biotechnology company called Promega Corporation. Prior to that, I got a master's degree in pharmacology at the University of Wisconsin. I was studying drug development and kind of the clinical process of medicine. And before that, I was an undergrad at Cornell in New York, and I was in neurobiology. So, as you can tell from this background, I come from a heavy STEM degree, but and had no business background prior to coming to Darden.
Yeah, not uncommon for Darden students in any of our programs to not have a prior business background and to have studied different things at undergraduate level or graduate level, or even in their work lives that do something a little bit different than what people imagine when you think about business school. You spent time in some very cold places before coming to Charlottesville. Um, how did you get interested in Darden?
Ooh, I spent about a year while I was a scientist thinking about what I wanted to do moving forward in my career. I looked at those above me who were running the lab and just thought, I don't see myself being you one day. That's not my goal. Um, I just felt so far removed from the impact I was having. I was developing really great products and making a great impact, but I didn't really get to see it. And I realized that that was a big aspect of what I wanted out of a job. And I really loved the science, but wanted to think a bit bigger. Obviously, when you're working in biotech or as a scientist, you're really niche and you're really diving into big projects. You've got your head down. It's not a very high communicative role, I guess I would say. You're doing a lot on your own. It's very individual, uh, and it can be tedious, time consuming, slow, and yeah, just overall narrow scoped, but in a good way and for a good reason. But I realized I wanted to develop a career that was higher level, out of the lab, and in more of a decision making and bigger picture role. So that's when I started looking at Darden. Uh, and just thought, well, I'll apply and see what happens.
What resonated with you about the Darden experience?
Yeah, I really wanted a program that was academically rigorous and a training ground for business. I know that a lot of MBA programs in general, and kind of the perhaps the stereotype of an MBA program is that, oh, it's easy or it's just a title without much effort. And I didn't want that from my degree. I wanted the complete opposite. I wanted something that gave me this fundamental core business background. Obviously, as someone who comes from no business whatsoever, the training was essential for me to pivot. Another reason is I really didn't want a lecture based class. I just as I talked to students in different programs, um, and thought about my own experience in undergrad and in my master's degree, I knew that I could ace any class that was lecture based. You know, you listen to a lecture, you internalize the knowledge, you spit it out on a test. But when you get to the real world, that's never what it looks like. And I just didn't need to repeat that, and if I was, I could do a part-time program or something online or just simple courses in subject matter that I was interested in. So I wanted somewhere where I could really immerse myself and, in a style that would prepare me for my next role, and so I really appreciated the idea of the case method that Darden offered. And lastly, I put a really heavy emphasis on the support that I would receive in terms of pursuing the next step in my career. As I talk to students in different programs, I realize that schools offer very different types of resources, opportunities, and engagement with career help and support. And so I took that heavily into account as I looked at schools, and I knew that Darden would provide the expert level support that I needed to pursue my next chapter.
Had you spent much time in Charlottesville
Nope.
before coming to Darden?
Nope. This is my first time living in I call it the South, but I guess I've been corrected to call it the Mid-Atlantic. But I had always grown up and lived my life. I joke I lived along I-90 my whole life because I-90 stretches from Madison through Chicago and then over to New York, and so I grew up in Madison and Chicago, and then went to undergrad at Cornell, and then came back, so I've kind of always lived in some of the northern states or the northern part of the US, and I actually committed to Darden without ever having come to grounds. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. So what have you enjoyed about Charlottesville so far? I got to ask you, since you had not been here before making your MBA decision, what have you enjoyed?
I love a place that feels like a small city slash big town, and you could argue it's one or the other. I find that that brings such a community feeling. So even the folks that aren't necessarily at Darden, but you meet people out in the community, and it just feels more tight knit and uh, friendly. And I've never really been a big city person for that reason. I just really enjoy getting involved in little events and things like farmers markets. And Charlottesville has this great live music scene. And I'm a big foodie, and they have these great farm to table restaurants. I think just the number of phenomenal restaurants versus the number of people here is insane. And so even though I hadn't visited Charlottesville, I knew a lot about it, and I just knew that it would be a great spot to come to school.
It does track if you spend time in Ithaca, which is
Mhm.
a smaller town than Charlottesville, but you spend time in Ithaca, Madison, Wisconsin, which is a capital city, but still, if you go there, it feels like a college town. I've been there once. It's a great place. Although I was there in September and it was already starting to get dark and cold at that time of year, so I'm not sure I'm tough enough, for Madison, Wisconsin, but I can understand that tracks with your story, Kendra. So you come to Darden, you're the first-year student. As you mentioned, you're getting acquainted with everything, getting up to speed. Tell us a little bit more about your section. So, what section are you?
I'm in section E, and that's the newest section that they've ever added to Darden. I believe it used to just be A through D, and since the school has grown, we have section E. We Our colors are black and yellow, and if anyone doesn't know about the sections, it's a big deal about it's kind of the second thing you say after your name is, "Hi, I'm Kendra, and I'm from section E." It brings this great sense of community, and you're obviously with these students in a classroom, for all of your classes every day, so you really get to know each other and form these incredible bonds, and even though I've only been at school for a month now, maybe a little bit more than a month, I already feel really close to everyone in the room, and there's 70 of us, or a bit more than 70, which is crazy, to think that I already had individual relationships with each of them.
And you're a section representative, for section E. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a section rep?
Yeah, a section rep is someone who acts as a liaison between the students and the faculty and between students themselves. They I see it as someone who is bringing the hype and the energy and the organization, just keeping us all together and making sure that we're all engaged and having a good time at school and feel supported and getting to know each other the best that we can. Obviously, we're all busy and doing different things, but just being a person to go to about anything uh, is something that I've always liked to be for my friends, my family. Just a touch point and a listening ear is what I think the section rep does very well and is there for. So just, someone who isn't faculty, but holds a leadership role and is willing to stand up for you in your behalf and listen to you and help you get to where you need to go.
Do you have a favorite section E norm or tradition, something you do as a section? Because I know each section kind of has its own culture. You set your own norms, have your own celebrations, different kinds of things. Something that you enjoy?
Ooh, I like almost everything about our section. I think we really set the tone well in our first Darden Cup competition. All of the first years, it felt like we're there and engaged, and we did different lawn games. So, tug of war, egg toss, two-man wheelbarrow race, and then a three-legged race. And you just see aspects of people come out in those moments that maybe you don't see in the classroom. It's a little silly, but a lot of fun. And that's been my favorite memory thus far is just seeing us all in a little bit wild and chaotic of an environment together and growing those bonds.
I'm curious, Kendra, you're early on in your experience. What are you looking forward to in the months ahead? What do you have circled on the calendar?
Crazy enough, I don't have anything quite circled on the calendar. Not in a bad way. It's just it's tough to think about the months ahead, just with how quickly time is going. But I'm really excited to settle into a rhythm. Uh, the first few months can feel pretty intense, and I'm just really excited to continue to get to know my classmates on a deeper level. And I love that every single week it feels like we're a bit closer and we're engaged and we're social and we're involved in the Darden community. And uh, as I figure out my career path, and everyone else does too, it's fun to see each other grow. So I don't have this kind of big moment to look forward to, but I think Darden does a great job of just building in so many things to do and so many opportunities to engage with each other. And that's the fun part is you're never just like looking forward to this something far off in the future. You're actually day to day have things that you look forward to and moments of time that are fun and exciting to relieve from the stress of it all as well.
And one of the things that always comes up, and it actually came up during the Q&A with the students at Day with Darden this past week, is how do you make all these things coexist, like school and social commitments and career stuff? Like, how do you balance all of this? What's been your approach thus far to juggling these and kind of co-equal commitments? I guess some things may be more important one week than another, but I mean, they all seem important.
Yeah. I mean, every day you want to do all of the above, right? But we only have so many hours in a day. No one gets more, no one gets less. I see it as I try to each week kind of give myself a weekly goal in all of my categories. So that might look different for me from to compared to someone else, but what am I going to do to further my career this week? Maybe write down three things. What am I going to do for school this week? Write down three or four things. What am I going to do socially? Write down a few things. And what am I going to do for my health? Um, I know they say you can only juggle 3 balls or maybe 2 if you're really bad at juggling, but, I just think if you can write things down and stick to it, that's really important. I like to say yes to everything, I like to be involved in everything, but you just simply can't do that. And so I've just organized tried to organize and balance all of that through prioritization, writing it down and sticking to it to the best that I can.
Yeah, I like that idea of just a few things in these categories per week that you want to accomplish. I guess that must be a nice feeling when you either check them off, mark them off. Probably gives you a feeling of having done something. It certainly makes something abstract like, oh, I want to engage with my career, um, take a step in that direction. It can certainly help make it more concrete and kind of put some energy towards it.
Yeah, I mean, this week for me was my resume. And career can be, just saying like I want to work on my career is a tough thing. Break it down and say what about my career is going to be better at the end of this week. And so for me, that was my resume. I had 3, 4, 5 people read over it, give me advice, and keep editing on it. And so at the end of this week, I feel like I've got a polished resume. Did I reach out to companies? Did I apply to any internships? Did I talk to um, second years about what they did? No, I didn't do any of that this week. I just focused on my resume. And so taking those little steps and committing to it can help you feel accomplished and like you're checking something off in a really big, uh, giant to-do list overall.
You mentioned you came to Darden very intentionally because of the academic experience and amongst a few other things, but you mentioned that you sought it out because it has this reputation of being challenging and engaging. It's really built its reputation around the educational experience. How have you found the learning experience thus far?
It's so hard to describe, especially being a scientist and, in science, you more or less feel like there's a right answer. I think the beauty of the classroom here is that there isn't a right answer, and there never is in the real world as well. Perhaps there are more wrong answers than some, but at the end of the day, you're making decisions and you're backing up your decisions with reasoning, and that's what the case method is really teaching you to do is think critically and think bigger and broader and connect different dots together. I think what may be challenging for some, including me, is you come from a lecture-based class where you take exams or you do the homework and you get it right and you just feel this sense of accomplishment of, yeah, like I learned this, I know this. But there's no guarantee that you're necessarily going to remember it, of course. Versus the case method, you can't just look at um, what you've done and say, oh, yeah, like I'm an expert in this or I know this. And I think there's a beauty in that because really prepares you for the real world. Every time you see a different scenario, it's going to look different. It's not going to be a practice problem from a textbook. And so it's challenging to think, "Oh, am I learning? Do I have this down?" Because you just can't look at it on this linear trajectory of I've got this, and this, and you're learning concepts at the same time as connecting dots to other classes and applying what you already know, and then learning from all of your classmates and where they came from and their background. And then just looking across industries as well. It's just it's a lot, but it you kind of I mean, even now I'm just sitting here like, wow, I've tackled so many different things that I wasn't even aware of. Um, and I absolutely love that about the case method.
Yeah, it makes sense because in lecture-based environment, you're really kind of asked to do one thing, right? Whereas the case method, you're asked to do a lot of different things. Not just learn the material, but also apply it and be able to communicate your ideas to other people and listen to those people's ideas and perspectives, maybe incorporate them into your own thinking. And of course, there's no one right answer oftentimes in these cases. That is a big adjustment, a little different from science, as you mentioned. But I think, I mean, to your point, it sort of underscores the fact that you're like always learning. Even there's no matter if you've been working at something for 20 years, you're still learning. You're still encountering new things, which yeah, I guess that feels like life to me. Certainly, and to your point, it's more aligned with how business actually works, how things work in the real world.
Yeah, it feels so real, and it's fun when a student raises their hand and says something, and the faculty just go, "Whoa, I've never thought about that before." And they've taught these cases however many times, right? And so even just a different perspective, and being open to hearing what other people say and other people's ideas, is really what it takes to be a leader. And uh, Darden really prepares you for that role.
Well, Kendra, I'm curious. Do you have any final words of advice? Any tips you would encourage our listeners to keep in mind as they think about their own MBA journeys?
My biggest piece of advice is to keep an open mind. Darden will expose you to so many paths you could take, some you've never thought about. And I came in thinking that I had to stick with what I'm always good at. And Darden didn't do that. I did that in my internal monologue of, okay, I'm really good at science. I'm going to pursue the business of science. And I didn't love that mindset for me once I got here. And I quickly realized that that is not the best approach. This is the time to explore. So, even if you've never thought about something like banking or consulting or consumer product goods, whatever it is, take a look at it. If you can do that before you come to Darden, that's great. If not, you get here and there's so many opportunities to engage with these different paths. Try to go on the coffee chats, go to the club events, talk to some second years. You don't have to figure it all out when you get here, but Darden gives you this place to discover and just to really um, open up to those ideas and all the doors that Darden opens for you. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so even if you come in and you think you're dead set on doing something, just go listen, just think about it, just consider other options you have.
That's a great way to end this conversation. Kendra, thank you so much for your time. It's great catching up with you, and good luck in the year ahead. Thanks for sharing your story with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope it helps those students and come to Darden. You won't regret it.
And that was my conversation with Kendra Nealey, a first year student in our full time MBA class of 2027. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Till next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.